How can you still beat your competition without lowering your prices? Now, in this video, we're going to discuss exactly why you should never try to undercut your competition and their prices, and in fact, why you should be charging at least the same, if not more. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name's Luke Simmons. I'm a brand owner as well as a marketing agency owner, and my team of over 200 team members is responsible for helping over 300 brands scale anywhere from zero all the way to multiple eight figures. And so, having worked with a lot of brands, this is one of the topics that has actually come up a lot, especially with the newer brands, the ones that are more established, who are trying to find where they fit in the market and what sort of price point they should be entering in. Now, the first point that I want to touch on when it comes to why you should not be trying to undercut your competition from a price point is value. Now, there are two areas that I want to think about when it comes to value. The first one is quite simply the monetary value that you place on your product or item, right? So that's the selling point or the selling price that you actually decide to sell at. The second thing, and the most important by far, that we have to consider from a marketing standpoint is perceived value. Now, in layman's terms, put very simply, what perceived value essentially means is everything being taken into account from a customer's perspective. What is the value that they would place on your product or item? Now, the only thing that you really need to know is that customers will not buy a product if their perceived value of it is not greater than the price tag that you've placed on it, right? So essentially what that means is if you have a product placed at £100 price point or $100 price point, if the value to the customer of that product is not in excess of the $100, they will not purchase. And so there are a couple of ways that I want to talk to you about in this video as to how we can actually increase that perceived value, because if we can increase it or we can maximize what that perceived value is in comparison to your competition, they're going to be buying from you every single time because they're going to get way more value from their point of view from buying your product over what the competition currently offers. Now, there are lots of weird and wonderful ways that you can actually increase perceived value. And that's why I love marketing so much, because there isn't a one-fits-all solution. But I'm going to give you some ideas that hopefully you're going to start thinking about different ways that you could actually increase that perceived value for your own situation. Now, the first thing that you really need to think about from a customer's perspective is that when they are looking to buy a product, there are a couple of things that are going through their mind. The first thing is that they are considering the purchase or the investment of your product to be a somewhat of a risk, right? So we have to consider the fact that if we can minimize the risk of buying our product, that is going to increase the value that they get from actually making a purchase with us over the competition. A great and very simple example of this are warranties and guarantees. If your competition doesn't currently offer some sort of warranty or guarantee, and all of a sudden, from a competitor standpoint, you can come in and all of a sudden you offer a 1-year warranty or a 1-year guarantee, you all of a sudden are going to minimize the risk that the customer would potentially face by buying your product over the competition that doesn't offer any sort of guarantee. So that's one example. The second thing that you need to factor in with that is that it not only reduces the risk, but actually it can also state to the customer that you are much more confident in the quality of your product. And by being able to offer some sort of warranty or guarantee, you are showing and proving to the customer that actually your product potentially is of better quality than what the competition currently offers. Again, we just have to use perceived value as a way to try to have our customers thinking and in their own mind position our product as being better than what is also being offered on the market. That is all we are trying to do. We are trying to help them understand why our product would be better for them. Another thing that you can consider with perceived value is time. If your product can speed up the result or speed up the time it takes to get to the solution, because if you look at any product, it is answering a problem. The reason we buy anything is to answer a problem, even if that is in the fashion industry, right? We are buying a product to make us feel good in a certain location, in a certain situation, in a certain scenario. Literally every time we buy something, it is for the simple reason that that person is trying to solve a problem and the product is hopefully going to solve that problem. If we can speed up the time it takes in order to solve that problem, then again, that is going to be a big plus And again, that translates to more value in the customer's eyes. So if that's something that you can apply to your product, that's something that you should definitely do. Now, the other thing that I want to touch on and why you really, really shouldn't undercut your prices is because really you shouldn't be trying to compete directly with your competition. Now, if you're coming into a market and you are literally selling a duplicate of what your competition is currently selling, you're never going to win, right? And I don't have to lay this out, but I will very quickly. And that is, if you are literally selling the exact same product and you've already got an established competitor within that market, not only are they going to have much better margins on their products because they're going to be buying it in much, much bigger bulk, which will bring down the unit economics per unit. But on top of that, they are going to have a dominant market share, and there is nothing that differentiates you from them. And so when the customer realizes that, and it's going to be really hard for you to differentiate that from a marketing standpoint, there is literally no incentive for them to come to you. And that is when you put yourself in a position where the only thing you can offer is a lower price. And that is a losing game from the get-go. Whereas the majority of you watching this video hopefully have a brand where you've created a product that has different benefits, different features that differ from what is currently being offered on the market. That is your ticket to literally market in a different way to a different segment of the audience. I like to use the analogy of coffee shops. In any high street, in any town, anywhere, there are coffee shops literally popping up all over the place. And no matter how many coffee shops seem to pop up, every coffee shop seems to be thriving. Every coffee shop seems to have plenty of business. And quite simply, what is happening there is that a coffee shop comes in, they are just in a more convenient place for more customers, and it actually doesn't take away any of the customers that are going to coffee shop A, because guess what? Customers closer to coffee shop A are going to go to coffee shop A, and customers closer to coffee shop B are going to go to coffee shop B. And quite simply, and that is a very simple analogy, but that is exactly what's happening. And that is just more appealing to customers who are closer to that coffee shop. And the same thing and the same principle can be applied to your ecom brand and your product offering. There is going to be something that is more unique, a more unique benefit or feature that leans more towards a certain angle or more towards a certain pain point. And that's the thing that you need to lean into, because that's what's going to attract the right customer towards you. If you have a product, and let's say the competitor has product A, and that product A is really, really strong with a certain set of characteristics. But you've noticed through the research that you've done coming out with a new product and brand that actually there is something that is currently inadequate or is missing for a lot of their customers from that current product offering. And guess what? You're going to find that information from the bad reviews that are usually left on that product. And so when you come out with a new product, you should be leaning into where those gaps are with the current offerings on the market. And that is where your product should be leaning into that offering so that you can now start appealing to those bad reviews. And guess what? You're going to start taking those bad reviews and converting them into customers of your own. That's how you can actually, without directly competing, which is going to be, unless you are boatloaded with cash, you're going to be basically doomed from the beginning, because you're going to be going up against some really big players. Instead, you're going to be marketing yourself to a segment, to a chunk of the pie, right? That is different to what they are overall trying to target. And over time, as you grow, of course, you can start enlarging your piece of the pie. But to begin with, the more specific you can be in terms of who you are targeting, the more likely you are to actually attract the right customers and actually, even if the competition is charging at the same price point as you, be able to actually attract more and more people. And the last thing, but probably the most obvious that I want to talk about when it comes to why you should not be lowering your prices, is the margin itself. You cannot afford to continuously just compete on price alone. With ever increasing costs when it comes to advertising, when it comes to taxes and all sorts of things, you just will not be able to play the long game by trying to compete on price. And so you need to find ways by adding perceived value, by being able to differentiate yourself and appeal more to a segment of a particular audience, and using that to actually increase your price or at least keep it at the same point. If you are trying to attack the exact same market with no differentiation and a lower price point, yes, you'll get sales in the beginning, but you will not survive the test of time. And ultimately, if we're here to build a brand, we need to be able to build something that is going to have longevity, is going to allow you to have customer lifetime value. And the only way to do that is to differentiate yourself through marketing as well as the perceived value that your product and brand offers. So I hope that this video helped you. I just wanted to touch on that subject. Like I said, it comes up a lot from the brands that I work with. And it's a very, very important subject to talk about because a lot of brands that come onto the market will try to undercut the competition, and they do it for the wrong reasons. And as I've explained within this video, you're literally setting yourself up for failure. And there is no reason why you should actually be doing that in the first place. And in actual fact, you can create an incredible brand by charging the same, if not more, except you need to be focusing on the right things. And that is not the price, it is the value that you offer to your customers. So just think about that next time you are thinking as to what you should be pricing your new product or your new range of products, whatever that might be. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching this video. If you're interested in seeing more content like this, be sure to go check out another video of mine that will be linked just up here, and I will see you in the next one.